I don't know what is happening to my own video. It's not showing.
Are you using your phone or you are using the laptop?
I'm using the laptop.
Okay.
Yeah, video icon is showing marks.
It's showing.
It's showing crossed or something, not live.
Yeah, I saw it. It's the same here, so I don't know what's going on.
Maybe let me get Charles to respond to you quickly. Let me
Okay,
call.
thank you.
Yeah, but let me call Charles.
Okay. Hi, Basirat is here, but okay, I can't.
Okay, so for me, Charles says he's going to respond to you quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hello, Nkechi. Nkechi.
Kemi. Yes, Kemi.
So how do we know? I'm just seeing we like this, the admin online. So how do we see the other people?
Okay, let me get back. Charles to say he's in a meeting. Let me get to Angie to respond.
Okay.
I'll call you to tell us what to do. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
What did you
Hello.
say? Repeat it. I'm hearing.
Oh, Charles, you are here.
Okay. Attend to Fumi first. Fumi's zone is very important.
Fumi needs to log out and now possible restart
Hmm.
computer. The thing is looking as
That's
if
an error.
our camera is being used by something else.
Okay.
So our camera is being used by something else. You need to free the camera.
Okay, Charles. So how do we see other people? Like I'm just seeing we that we are the admin now. How do we know the other attendees if they are they hearing me now?
They are hearing you. Tell me.
Okay. Please, I need the YouTube link.
I can hear you very well, Kemi.
I've sent it to you by email.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Charles.
Yes, Basira.
Okay, we have a section that we are going to take a question from participants. So how do we
I will give briefing to the participants. I know some of them are hearing me. If they want to get to the time of the question, they will raise their hands up. Like somebody that is Mito P2 is already raising hands now at the moment. I've seen Miriam raising hands. Her hands are coming up. So Kemi and Basira, I'm going to make you a co-host so that you can see the attendees on the right. You will see their hands so that you can grant them access. So I was waiting for you to come online.
Please include peace.
Oh, Charles.
One responsible for wisdom.
Charles is Peace is responsible for that.
Okay.
For that session, yeah.
Peace is the co-host.
Okay, then Charles, please, that YouTube link, it's linking people to our YouTube page, but it's not connecting to the live video, to the live
Charles,
I've not started it. If I start recording all this background discussion, we have not started. So you want me to start? Yes.
Comrade is on the attendees list.
Okay, I say, what is his name? So I'm moving.
Comrade Ayuba Waba.
Okay, let me look for him.
Yeah, quickly.
Okay, I've seen him. I promoted him to a participant.
Okay, we are also expecting the DG.
Hello?
Hello, Charles. Hello. Is Charles still there?
I don't think so.
Wow, we just went off. Okay, we're also expecting Ambassador. I think he's back. Charles, are you back?
Basira, it is 2:30. Can we start? And people are listening to you.
Yes, yes. Basira, only ambassador will relink here. So forward
Go live.
Yeah.
Okay, can Adewale send it? Adewale,
Some phone with me is going to do that.
Okay, I think we can start.
Okay, Charles, please activate the YouTube link then.
Okay, just hold on. Please, are you seeing the panel? Are you seeing the attendees so that you can grant people raise hands up when they want to ask a question?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. You are welcome to the maiden edition of the ActionAid Nigeria's COVID-19 webinar series. This is the first series, is the maiden one, and our focus topic today is on COVID-19 lockdown and the workplace. What are how do we cope? How do we survive? And what are the recommendations that we give to employees and employers? We have with us 4 speakers. We have, I think we have 2 of our speakers who are online already. We are expecting Ambassador Ayola Olukani, and we are also expecting Fumilayo Yefuti. We have with us the NLC President, Nigerian Labour Congress President, Ambassador Ayuba Waba. Welcome, sir. Hello? Hello? Oh, seems his line, seems his network, it has dropped. We also have with us the Executive Director, as well as the ED of Lagos. We have Adekemi. You're welcome, madam.
Thank you very much.
So quickly, I'll give a brief. I'll do a brief on the profile of our speakers, of our today's speakers. We have Funlayo Yefuti. She's an experienced human resources and organizational development professional. For me, here online. He's passionate about people development, about HR systems, policies, and processes. He's also experienced in capacity development of organizations, leadership, and governance. He's skilled in recruitment, employee performance management, benefit and compensation design. She obtained her first degree in agriculture from Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria, and has a master's in global human resources from University of Liverpool. She has held many professional roles in the human resources field, including in the private sector. She's currently with ActionAid as the Director, Organizational Effectiveness. You're welcome, Fumi. Okay, you're welcome, Fumi. Okay, I hope it's not network there. So I will continue. We will also have with us to join us the DG, the Director General of NASIMA, Ambassador Ayola Olukani. He served in the permanent mission of Nigeria in the United Nations, New York, covering among the work of the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th Committee of the United Nations, as well as the Security Council. He was involved in the work of United Nations spanning economic and financial matters, South-South cooperation, technical cooperation among developing countries, that's the TCDC. He obtained a bachelor's degree in political science from Obafemi Awolowo University and got a master's in international law and diplomacy from the University of Lagos, Nigeria. He's currently the Director General of Nigeria Association of Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines, and Agriculture, NASIMA. Please join me to welcome Ambassador Ayola Olukani as we wait for him to join us. We also have the third speaker, Comrade Ayuba Waba. He serves as a member of the governing body of the International Labour Organization and has been appointed a board member to many public and private organizations, including the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, National Health Insurance Scheme, the National Labour Advisory Council, the University of Nigeria Enugu Teaching Hospital, the National Productivity Center. He's a qualified member of the National Institute and hold a Masters of Public Health, MPA. He's currently the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. So we await a comrade to join us very soon. We hope he's not having network issues. We have our fourth speaker.
Comrade is on.
Comrade is on.
Perhaps he should unmute his microphone.
Okay, yes, he's on.
Hello.
Oh, hello, you're welcome on board, sir.
Thank you very much. Happy to join you.
Glad to have you here, sir. We have our fourth speaker, Mrs. Adekemi Adeyeye. She is a developer enthusiast and specialist, currently the co-founder and executive director of Humanity Family Foundation for Peace and Development, a not-for-profit government organization working in the area of reproductive health and rights, education, emergency, and governance. She, with 2 decades of experience, she has extensively and intensively trained on several aspects of development work. She's also the Deputy National Coordinator of Association of OBC in Nigeria. So welcome, Kemi.
Thank you very much.
We welcome Kemi. Also, Fumi, you are welcome. Can we hear your voice? Fumi?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, Fumi. Just to quickly set some ground rules, we would appreciate if all our audience, all the attendees, mute their mic so that we can hear the speakers as they speak. Quickly, to give a background, this is the maiden edition of ActionAid COVID-19 webinar series. The first, I am your host. Basirat Adeshina, and we have a co-host, Peace Eneja. Peace, we hear you. Peace is our co-host. Peace Eneja. Peace.
Hi, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Just to give a brief on down memory lane on the lockdown, on 29th of March, the federal government announced a lockdown effective 31st of March, specifically to Lagos State, Abuja, as well as Ogun State. We also saw other states actually come on board and started enforcing their own lockdown in their respective states as well. But due to the COVID-19 virus confirmed cases in Lagos, that was ending of it was late March as well as early March, where we have our second confirmed case, as well as subsequent spread of this virus. We saw the lockdown 2 weeks consecutively. It ended last week, just this Monday, and we saw the government planning to ease down this lockdown effective Monday, though with conditions and some sectors of the economy will actually be affected. So just to give a brief background on that. So you can see that employees have been at home for like a month now. Staff have been at home, so businesses have been affected. Some have resorted to online selling. We have some sectors that are benefiting. We have the logistics company, especially the delivery, that are benefiting, and we have some that are actually losing out. We have the entertainment sector losing out. We have the sporting sector losing out. We have the manufacturing production has been cut short as they have cut down on production. We have travel industry affected. We have airlines. We have stuff at the airline sector, travel agency, tourism, among others, being affected. So which is part of what necessitated ActionAid to bring about this topic. To bring about the first topic of this series, that what can we do? What are the coping and survival strategies that we can actually offer, that we can give to staff, employees as well as both employers? Comrade, I would like to start with you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, with the pandemic, you know, the lockdown and the economic effect, several workers and employees are afraid of job loss, which means that unemployment rate in Nigeria would possibly increase. As the NLC president, what is NLC's plan to allay the fears, of these employees, of these workers, of these staff? There is also issue of non-payment of salary by some workers. Also, the informal sector is also there. And, you know, they play a major role in the development of the economy. So what is the NLC also doing in line with the standard, the ILO NLC standard to protect the sector? We'll be giving the speakers 5 minutes to talk, so that 5 minutes each for the speakers to talk on their topic, so that we can go to the audience and take feedback and questions from them. You can go on, sir.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to once again look at this global challenge, of which Nigeria is not an exception. First is that we should realize that the coronavirus challenge is twofold. One is the health impact in terms of mortality and morbidity, where people that are infected will get sick, and in some cases, some people die. This is the first challenge of it. But the second challenge, which is also pronounced, is the socio-economic challenge. As you have said, in 80% of the countries around the world, work is being disrupted. Lines of production have been stopped. In the context of Nigeria, you are aware that key sectors of the economy are at a standstill. One, the transport sector, the aviation sector, the many of the sectors, the market, including the informal sector, of which 70% of our economy is actually in the informal sector. So those are the challenges. And therefore, those challenges are very obvious. Importantly also, when you look at the economic challenge, because the prosperity of any country is also the prosperity of its people. You look at it that our main stake of our economy is oil and gas. And now, when you look at what is happening globally, is to the effect that even with our oil production, we are not able to find willing buyer. And therefore, it's about demand and supply. And therefore, there is no demand for our oil. And that's why the revenue have fallen. When you look at the context of sub-Saharan Africa, the World Bank and the IMF and African Development Bank have envisaged that between 1.6% and 5.1% of our GDP will shrink. But in the context of Nigeria, the shrinking will be up to 3.4%. And therefore, this will take us up to the year 2001. So clearly speaking, this is very serious and a very gloomy picture. But I think importantly is the fact that even the informal sector have been hit because, as you said, in the informal sector, you have people that have to go out in the morning and then find what to eat in the evening because they do depend on daily jobs. So clearly, all of us have been affected. And therefore, holistically, as I've put it, is both a health challenge and economic challenge. And how do we intend to look at it? Yes, clearly for now, there have been threats to job losses, both in the formal sector and the informal sector. Two, as we are aware also, the health impact is there because it will affect labor, because as I speak to you, even today, I'm taking reports of frontline health workers that have been infected. In fact, we are not even talking of those in the isolation centers and those in the treatment centers. No, in our normal health facilities, today I've received report of a very frightening picture of also workers that are in the healthcare industry being affected. In one of the centers in Lagos, a federal medical facility, 2 cleaners or attendants and 2 doctors have been reported to be positive. And in the A&E, even here in Abuja, in a federal health facility, A&E, in fact, the entire A&E workers and nurses are now under quarantine. So this is the challenge. And therefore, when we look at all of these, the economic challenge and the health challenge, you can find out that workers are at the receiving end. The health workers are now at the receiving end because they are those that stand between life and death. But also other category of workers, including those in the informal sector, their means of livelihood is also being threatened. Their work is also being threatened, and their income is also being threatened. So clearly, this is the gloomy picture that is available around the world. In fact, the ILO also envisage that millions of workers may also lose their job and also means of livelihood. So the main issue now is how do we think out of the box and try to strike a balance between the issue of health and then the issue of the socio-economic challenge in the system. So this is actually where we are, and this is why NLC have canvassed. First is the gradual opening up of the lockdown. It is something we have envisaged. It is something we have canvassed. We are aware that we had interface with the presidential task force, and gratefully, Mr. President have still risen to say that yes, the issue we have raised are fundamental, they are very germane, and that a thought needs to be given to it. And that's why the issue of gradual opening up will come up. So in the issue of gradual opening up, we must take both collective responsibility and personal responsibility, because guidelines will be rolled out by the presidential task, and those guidelines must give you an example. They are looking at a situation where if a bus carries 10 people, you need to reduce that 10 people then to 6 people, which means you have to ensure that there is social distancing. You have to also respect the putting of face masks, and importantly also making sure that there are sanitizers in those vehicles. It has two implications. One implication is that, well, a driver that possibly earns 10,000 in a trip, with the reduction in number of passengers, you also know that the income will be reduced. And therefore, there will be tendency that inflation will follow, because he needed to also make up and add to the cost of the transportation to all those passengers. So those are the multifaceted challenges that have been thrown up. And therefore, clearly speaking, Labour is looking at it. And that's why we have opened up the Labour Civil Society Situation Room, so that we are going to respond first to the public health challenge. We are going to respond also to the economic challenge. And importantly also, we are going to look at the issue of palliative. How can palliative and good policy respond effectively to address the issue of those in the informal sector, address small and medium scale enterprises? Because we have heard that in the palliative, CBN is also coming up with stimulus. We don't want what has happened in the past to happen again. The stimulus going into wrong hand or going into people that will be favored. It should go to people that needed it, like what is going on in the palliative now. The palliative is not being seen or felt by the poor of the poor. In fact, it is who you know that the palliative reaches. So this is the multifaceted challenge. And that's why we think that we must have a concrete approach, a well-structured approach, and also an approach that has empirical data to be able to protect those vulnerable workers, protect our citizens, but in a whole, having at the back of our mind that the economy must not continue to stay in lockdown, because one, the lockdown should be a process to reaching an end. It should not be an end in itself. That is our argument, because if you continue on lockdown, then the economy will continue to suffer. At the end of the day, we will go into a prolonged coma, and therefore it will be devastating for everybody, because even government will then find difficulty in paying salaries, because for now, you are aware, as I said, I want to repeat again, the mainstay of our economy is oil and gas. But even other sources of revenue have been affected. VAT, about 40 to 50% of VAT comes from Lagos, because that's the commercial center of Nigeria. Now, this commercial center of Nigeria have been under lockdown. So how do we expect even VAT to come in? Even the normal revenue, tax, you pay taxes on businesses that have been able to break even. But now those businesses are affected. So you should envisage that the revenue accrued to the Nigerian state will dwindle. And therefore the fortunes of Nigerians, the fortune of Nigerians will also be affected, but importantly, workers will be at the receiving end, because politicians may not be ready and willing to part with what they have been able to accumulate. And what we are saying is that in the whole of this, I've not seen politicians saying, I'm donating X amount. We don't want a situation where they will now dip their hands into government coffers, because that is our commonwealth, to say that now they are not donating. No, we must recognize businesses, because I've seen the Dangotes of this world, Adetolas of this world, the boss of this world actually contributing money from their hard-earned money to support Nigeria. But I've not seen one politician. I've seen politicians that have declared billions of naira before they were sworn in. They said their wealth is over 900 billion, some of them. But I've not seen any of them dipping hand into what they have accumulated, which is our commonwealth, to now support the fight. So this is where we need to strike a balance, and this is where our argument will resonate. So we are very passionate about it. We are taking up the issue, and I thank ActionAid for standing in this very difficult time to align with progressive forces like Labour to now challenge our political elites to think out of the box and see how we can address this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I know you still have much to say, but we'll still come back to you on
Hello,
that comment.
can anybody still hear Comrade? Okay.
Yes, yes, we can hear him. Okay, thank you very much, comrade. I like the focus of your discussion, the dwindling oil prices. You mentioned something about palliative for the SMEs going into their hands, into the right hands. But I would like to quickly come back to Fumi. Fumi, are you there? Let's talk about staff now. Let's talk about employees. Fumi there? Hello, Fumi. Okay, I think there is some network issues there. Maybe I should quickly go to Kemi. Let me quickly, Kemi, are you there? Kemi, are you there?
I am.
Let's come to you. For CSO, civil society organization, in which you are also a representative in that sector. What is sustainability for employers, particularly CSOs? How can we redefine it?
Okay.
How do we?
Can you come with a question? I can't hear you clearly.
Okay, how do we begin to look inwards, especially while ensuring sustainability for employers in the CSO sector? That's a section of it. The other one is how do we leverage on technology? For the past 1 month, we've seen employees working from home, and we've been working virtually. Now, after the lockdown, post COVID-19, what needs to change in our way of working, especially virtually, while leveraging on technology? You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Basirat. Needless to say, this is an unprecedented occurrence in our generation that requires an unprecedented intervention. For us in the CSO world, it's a new dimension. It's no longer business as usual. As employers, we are thinking of how to stabilize our business, our organizations, and to keep our staff in place. Most of us are project reliant, and
things our line is breaking.
This pandemic has put a halt to some projects that even it's not easy to pay their salaries because the staff pays their project. So this is a time for us to look inward. In the past few weeks that the pandemic has been declared, central bank has declared about 27 billion from the private sector to the coffers of the federal government. That's kudos to them and a very good one. And apart from the 27 billion that the private sector has donated to the federal purse, I'm sure you're aware that there are a lot of other billions, everybody doing their pocket interventions in their own little way. ActionAid is doing theirs, we are doing theirs, we are all raising funds to meet the needs of our people because there is hunger in the land. And we work in the grassroots. We can reach the grassroots. So we know how to intervene with them. But we know now that when you talk about intervention, mostly on the table is security and it is food. You can only intervene for people that are safe and that are alive. So what we're doing now is we have a paradigm shift from the way we normally do our business. Like, you know, it's virtual now. So we do business online. We have our community managers on ground in the communities. So most of the intervention are done via the telephone through WhatsApp group. And we're also aware that not all of them are full literate, some are semi-literate. And we try to carry everybody along so as to be able to reach everybody in the grassroots. So we leverage more on video and audio to relate with them, to train them online, to educate them so they can get to the grassroots and pass out correct information to our beneficiaries. While on the other hand, in the office, we're looking for other ways of raising funds. Because when we eventually have to go to the community, we are trying to limit the interaction, the physical interaction as much as possible because of the infection. But once in a while that we need to go to the community, we do not want to go to the community empty-handed because we work amongst the rural of the rural. And we know that they are the worst hit. Most of them, if they do not work, they cannot eat. So at a time like this, we need well-meaning Nigerians to come on board. And I have to tell you this, they are responding. We have put out calls, and I saw a lot of my colleagues who do the same, and a lot of people are responding, and we're able, in our own little way, like I keep saying, meet the needs of our people. We are trying to do that. We are looking for what works, and we're trying to discard what does not work. You know, there are also opportunities that will arise after the post-COVID-19 era, and everybody has to be atop their game to be relevant after the COVID-19 era. So we leverage on online courses to better ourselves and to position ourselves for the next era. Meanwhile, we are still very passionate about the people we are reaching. We are very passionate about our people in the community that we are out there to meet. And as employers, at the same time, we do not want to lose any of our trained staff because it takes a lot to build their capacity. We do not want to lose any of our staff. So we are engaging them. We're engaging them online too. We are training them, and we are alleging their fears. We are letting them know that work will continue after COVID-19, and by His grace, we will not lose them. And we are hoping also that all other projects that are supposed to have taken off, that are on halt because of COVID-19, will take off immediately. This thing is relaxed, and we can move on, and life can be as usual. We do know that it's not going to be really, really business as usual, but at least we can begin to cope, and we can begin to live again and breathe well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Kenny. Thank you very much for that that succinct one. Programming at the community, the measures, even as the CSO organizations that you need to put in place, opportunities you are looking for after COVID-19. Maybe we can hear more from you during the comment section, but I would like to move to the next speaker. Thank you for that succinct one. Yeah, Fumi, are you back? Are you, is Fumi there? We have, okay, Fumi.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You're welcome, Fumi. You are an HR professional and expert in that field. We would like to come for you. We have some of our audience who are passionate about what happens next, and they are actually quite, we got a lot of comment and expectation quite from that area, that what next after COVID-19, how going back to work, will everything remain the same? So let's come to you now. There is currently lockdown. Do you have coping strategies that you can offer, you can give to staff, to workers, to employees who are currently working from home or at home now? Then how can part of the social responsibility of employers, how can they manage the mental health of their staff during this lockdown, knowing that the human resource is also very key to the development of the objectives of the organization? That's the second one. Then the last one. And now there is on Monday, 4th of May, we are going to have some ease of in some sector of the economy, and we'll have staff some workers, some employees, some staff who will be going to work. What are the measures that you think that employers, government need to put in place to ensure that the workplace is safe? Yeah, you have 5 minutes for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Everyone, and thanks for the privilege of being on this panel. I apologize for cutting off. I think my network is tired of all the meetings for a while. Let me start from where Comrade picked up earlier on the health challenges and the economic challenges that the COVID-19 has given all of us. I must say that this is a serious destruction for everyone in the sector or everyone in the country and around the globe. And the disruption it caught everybody unawares. So for the mental challenge, the reason why it's aggravated is because a lot of the informal sector now depend on employees that are in the formal sector. So the informal sector, like Comrade said, is 70% or to 80% of our employees within the nation. And these people go out on a daily basis to get whatever they need to be able to feed their family. Now that is not there because of the lockdown. And so it has put pressure on employees that are on salaries or those who are businesses. So this has created a lot of mental health challenges for a lot, for the employed population within the country. Now, the mental challenge, the way that we all can deal with this, there are coping strategies, and this is just some of the things that I would recommend. But again, I like all businesses and all of us to know that we are in a VUCA world. It's a volatility, uncertainty, complex and ambiguous world. And I like to concentrate more on the uncertain and the ambiguous aspect of it. This has thrown all of us into an uncertain situation. The lockdown was on for 4 weeks. We're on for another, God knows how many weeks again. So this has made us uncertain. So what should employers do? And how should they cope? The first thing is around developing a resilience strategy or business continuity plan for the organization. This would help everybody to know, okay, if we do get out of this, which we will get out of, but in case any other thing happens, what is our plan? What's the resilience strategy? How do we bounce back? And how do we continue in case any other things happens like this? Then 2 is looking at the way the president and the leadership of the country has gone about the lockdown and everything. We need to start thinking around developing a diversity and inclusion strategy for a multi-generational workforce. And how do I mean by that? There are millennials, as we call them, that would not like to commute to work. They would prefer to stay in their houses or in their spaces and just work and give you the deliverables. So we need to think around that as employers, develop diversity and inclusion strategy. And while we are doing that, rework the performance management strategy. Because again, how employers can cope during this lockdown is to make sure that you have the key performance indicators, the deliverables for your staff that would ensure that while they are working from home, they're also able to give you the deliverable that is desired. So it's not that everybody is just sitting at home and not knowing what to do. So for majority of organizations that have not thought around what performance management is all about, this is the time for us to start working on that strategy. And that's part of a coping strategy for employers. And then for those who are in retail service, we need to start thinking on how we can get our customers to buy online and then start thinking of delivery options. I'm glad that Jumia, Konga, and the rest of it, they have started that in Nigeria. But again, we need to expand that. So I don't need to really move to Next or move to whatever, ShopRite to be able to buy my things. If this lockdown is going to continue, I need to be able to sit on my laptop or sit anywhere and then order my goods, and then it's delivered at my doorsteps. And for government as well is also to think, I'm including government because this is very important, that we work on our distribution channels. We focus so much on road transport, trailers and tons of trailers on the road to deliver items from one state to the other. But again, there's interstate lockdown. So how do we get goods from one end to the other? Farmers would want to, sell their produce. How do they get it across? If we can't travel by road, can we travel by rail? So government needs to start thinking around ensuring that this is one of the strategy that we need to put in place to ensure that we're able to cope with this. Now, let me go to employees quickly before my time is up. For employees, this has happened to us. It is an uncertain time. We're at home and we have to work. We need to deliver. And yet you are also at home with families and possibly with small children that needs your attention. So coping strategy for employees: 1, set your time for work schedule. Ensure that you also schedule a time for medication. You can even create an office space within your home, and every member of the family is aware that this is my office space, this is my working time. And then when it's time for family time, you also take that. When it's time for exercise, meditation, you also stick to that as much as possible. I will encourage, one of the coping strategies again for employees is set the time that you watch news. There's a lot of news, and especially social media is not helping all of us. There are so many things, whether they are conspiracy theories, whether they are true or they are not true, that is out there. And so overload of information is out there. coping strategy is decide how many times in a day do I want to watch the news? Is it once, is it twice, and stick to that. That would help you to, keep your mental state in order. Then again, we need to work on our hobbies. What kind of things that you do apart from the normal, your 9-to-5 routine job, as we used to call it? What are those things, those hobbies that you can develop strategies around it to generate income from it later on, after all this is done? So it's also a time to start thinking and planning on, setting up on your own in case the organization cannot retain you. And where you need help, please ask for help. Don't be a superhero. So those are some of the coping strategies we need to have as employees and employers. And then going back to work, the recommendations we would have, it's a new way of working. So if we have to go back to the physical office, because I hear going back to work, some of us have been working from home. So it's really not going back to work. It's moving your office space from your home to the normal office space. So going back to the normal office space, I'll recommend that we have a phased resumption. You can't just put everybody, government says resume offices and businesses from Monday, 4th of May, and then everybody rushes back. I wouldn't advise that. There is a need to strategize on how we resume. Who are the people that will resume first? Do we need to fumigate the office? Do we need to get all the personal protective equipment in place for all staff? Do we need to agree on how many people stay in a room in the office? For instance, if 4 people were sharing the office before, would you think around 2 people sharing that office now and rotating how many people come to work? So if 2 people come to work today, another 2 come tomorrow. So we're not having overcrowding, because you don't know who has been in contact with anyone that is either positive or that has exposed themselves. So we need to get all of those personal protective equipment ready for the office. We need to get the office ready, seating arrangement, health check, temperature check, and have washing areas, designated areas, talk about not receiving visitors, and just getting everybody to follow the basic hygienic, increase the spread. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fumi, for that. We will see. I know you have much more to say. We'll still come back to you during the comment section. Okay, our last, we need to hear our last speaker. That's Ambassador Ayola Olukoni. Are you there, sir? Okay, is he here? Is it? Well, seems he hasn't joined us yet. We don't have him yet. We don't have him. Okay, so we move on. Let us move on to the question and answer section. We'll still come back to him because we need to hear from him, especially from the private sector angle. Okay, yes, he's on board. He's there. Ambassador Ayola. Trying to unmute him. Okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes, welcome on board. Good afternoon, sir.
Finally, thank you very much
for
having me.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we've heard from. Yes, we've heard from the
Yes, sir.
We've heard from the comrade. He has spoken on the informal sector, the government, generally as this lockdown and the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting employees and workers alike. We've also heard from Kemi. Kemi is also one of the speakers. She has spoken about sustainability for CSOs and also how we can leverage on technology going forward. We need to start thinking of working virtually and improving that. Also how as a CSOs at the grassroots, how they've been working with community while also ensuring social distance and do no harm, ensuring that we don't do harm to the communities where we work. And we've seen Fumi. Fumi is an OD expert, organizational development expert. She has really spoken on coping, how employees, workers, staff, how we can cope during this period. During this period, strategies for that employers need to put in place post work. But now we need to go to the private sector. the private sector. We know that also lots of our audience too are expecting so much from this sector. So in your role as the DG NACIMA, what are the challenges? Yes. What are the challenges, and how are businesses in the private sector coping with this lockdown, with this pandemic? We know some logistics company, let's say delivery, they may say they are doing well, but some are not, like the production, the entertainment, the tourist, travel, the airlines, and all that. Yeah. Then the last one is, what coping strategies would you advise employers to take forward post-COVID-19?
Well, thank you very much. But before I continue, let me say it's a pleasure to be here. I thank ActionAid for this. We worked with you closely in the past, and so we're very, very happy that we are continuing this. The last time it was on CSR, on wages and others. And I also want to welcome my dear comrade Ayuba, on this. Comrade, you will know that we've always asked for a new international financial architecture, a new international economic order. Now that the human race is entering this phase, I think all of us will sit down and look at how do we reorder our world. This is so fundamental as far as this issue itself is concerned. It's an existential battle. None of us have ever been this through, not even the richest country. Now, let me quickly go on to the question of our members. One of the first things we did immediately this crisis started was to establish links with all our members, to tell us, to have a feel of how are they coping. In the face of the lockdown and then the curfews, what we quickly did, especially for members who are those ones who supply essential commodity, was to get permits. It was a little bit difficult in the first place. So we have all these permits for most of our members to be able to cope. So they're coping. I mean, they're running around in terms of supplies. But the question and issues of security dimension of it is also one of the issues and problems we are having. I hope you are following me. Because if you have a permit on your hand, and then you get a police block, and then they're asking you, look, except you, no, we don't know about this. So the question and issues of synergy within the respective arms of government in terms of the new environment, nobody has ever been on this before, is key and of course, very important. Now, in terms of the question and issues of existential reality of our members, that is key because we don't have too much time. The issue of what happens in terms of payment of salaries is key and very important. And there have been very many ideas because you know what happened? Our members were asking, what should we do in terms of payment of salaries to our workers who have been at home? So what we said that, look, listen, shared responsibility and shared good is very important. You have to talk to your members in terms of what, because if you don't pay people, if people don't have disposable income, all of what we are talking about is not, because even if you say you can go to the market and go and buy things. So that is one key area, because even if we go back now and some of the workers have not been paid, what happens? So that's why we are saying that, look, listen, we really need to deal with this particular issue. Some are suggesting maybe we can pay 50% in terms of salaries to your members, but the members are saying, where do we get the money? But these are areas where negotiation can. But we are not in favor of laying off workers. We are, of course, for the question and issues of seeing what can be done in terms of paying some funds. And then also the whole question and issues, because life after post-COVID is key. Let me give you an example of what happened. The $50 billion naira, which is there, the question of access to it is key and very important because many of their members are saying, how do we survive? So we are engaging through, on behalf of our members, for people to be able to access, because I heard Comrade Ayuba making reference to that. It's not enough to our loan. The stimulus package must be accessible for people to be able to, because at the end of the day, we must keep our people alive for us to be able to have a post-COVID life. These are some of the things, and regularly we, of course, get across to our members. Now, everybody is getting ready for the question of return. But I am sure everybody will be peeping from their doors when they open the doors to enter, to go out from their house. You see that, is it safe to go out? So we have to have a strategy in terms of how do we encourage our members to be able to go back, and how do we also have support for them? And that is one of the things which I think is key and very important in this area. Well, the opportunity for the DJ ecosystem is there because we are also encouraging our members who are in this particular area of services. We are very keen in the area of productivity and in the area of the entertainment industry. I was quite interested when we saw that Bolanle Austin Peters, who runs PAB production, went online to say, look, you can watch Kalakuta Queens online. You can watch Kalakuta Queens online by YouTube. So implicitly, the opportunities that are there in terms of what's supposed to be done is an area. And of course, this is one of the lessons for us. But before I leave, I also want to say that we've been talking about the question of diversification of the Nigerian economy. Too much talk, now is the time to start walking the talk. Hello? Hello? Am I still on with you?
Yes, you are. We can hear you. Thank you very much for that practical. I know you still have much more to say, so we have a comment section after before we round off. So we'll definitely come back to you. But we would like to take one minute. We need to ask questions from our participants. I've seen lots of questions. I've seen 14 of them. So please, my co-host will be taking this question. Please, our audience, the attendees, if you have any question, kindly drop it on Twitter. If you are on Twitter, on the comment box here, if you are joining us via Zoom, and if you are joining us via YouTube, please drop your question there so that we can have the speakers answer some of them while we get back to you later, and also share notes with you. So please. Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just like Basira said, well, we might not be able to take all of the questions here, so we'll encourage you to send your questions, maybe via Twitter. You can tweet at us with your questions at ActionAid, and we'll get our speakers to answer them for you online. So we have a couple of questions here, and we'll be taking 5 questions from the participants. The Q&A question, we have the first question on psychosocial support. The person is asking, what insights do you have? What insights do you have to give staff or citizens on psychosocial support during this pandemic? Do you want me to take that again?
Hi, Peace. Are you directing the questions to a specific panelist, or you just want us to answer in random?
Okay, so I'm throwing it out. I'm throwing it out to the panelists. But I think Fumi would be in a better position to answer this.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello,
so let me attempt on psychosocial support.
Okay.
And I'll give that example from what we were able to do in our organization to support staff to cope during this lockdown. First, we had to support with, we set up an ad hoc support group consisting of 5 staff that we feel that people would be able to respect, and they'll be able to share their concerns with them. And these are people that are credible, people of integrity, and people that we feel that they are also confidential about information that staff will be sharing with them. So the ad hoc support group was able to help for staff to know that they can approach this person and talk about their issues with them. A second thing was also to get a psychosocial counselor and get their numbers so that we can connect them to a counselor online. So if you have a particular issue, that number was made available to all staff. If you have a particular issue, you can get to that counselor who counsels you online, maybe some 2 or 3 sessions, so that at least people would, their mental health would be taken care of at this time. So for organizations, I will encourage, even if you can't afford to get a professional counselor, is to look for people that can talk with people, because most times people just want to talk and hear out whatever it's on their mind. And most times it has to do with economic issue as well. I need money to feed my family. I don't have this, or I don't know how to take care of my children. I have challenges staying with them at home because I used to drop them with nannies. Now I have to take care of them and I have to work at home. So most times people just need counsel on how to go about this. So if you can't afford a professional counselor, you can also set up people within the organization that can help, or refer them to people that you know can keep the confidential information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. For me, I hope that answers the question. Okay, so we have another question from someone else, and he's asking, what are the practical solutions? What practical solutions do you have for corporate organizations and for citizens in this lockdown, and how will they continue to cope with it? What are the practical solutions that you have? So I'm directing to Ayuba Waba. Are you there? Do we have Ayuba?
Well, looks like he's having technical issues, you know. With
Hello?
his,
Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me?
Okay.
yeah, we can hear you.
Are you
now.
hearing me now? Okay,
Yeah, we
thank you
can
very
hear you.
much. As I said earlier, we have both individual and collective responsibility to make sure that we're able to attend to the challenge of COVID-19. In the workplace, we have responsibilities that will be dashed out from time to time by the presidential committee. We have intensive discussion with them. The issue of gradual opening up is not going to be all comers affair. We don't expect that by Monday, everybody will just resume. No, we have a centralized protocol for us to follow and then gradually also conform to those protocols. But also states have been given leverage. In each workplace, there will be guidelines. For instance, an issue was raised about whether civil servants will just resume on Monday. No, they will not. The head of service will issue guidelines. The head of service will issue guidelines on daily basis. On one, how social distances will be respected in the workplace. Two, how PPEs will be made available. Three, how also the issue of sanitizer will be made available. And the workers will be categorized on the basis of the fact that they are essentials and they are needed essentially at the workplace. So what is required is that both workers and employers must continue to conform with these protocols that will be issued from time to time, by relevant agencies of government, especially the Presidential Committee and also the various state governments. This is the way it will work. If we don't follow those protocols, it then means that we'll individually act on our own and the situation will get worsened and government will be forced to actually revert back to the total lockdown. So clearly speaking, I think all of us need to be attentive. We must take responsibility and we must respect the protocols that be rolled out by the Presidential Committee and also various states. Why I say so is because as NLC, we have also been able to inform our members and affiliates across board, including the informal sector, who are worstly hit. And in this respect, I want to thank the ambassador because I heard him now talking that it's not about issue of profit, it's actually about people. And I'm so excited because NLC have worked hand in hand with NECA, developing our plan and strategy to look at also how to support businesses. In fact, the issue you mentioned about the issue of the stimulus, we also say clearly that there must be clear guidelines that model so stringent, and they must work with institutions like NACIMA and NECA so that their members can be able to assess the stimulus, and then it can be able to address the very important issue of job losses and also how government can continue to ensure that there is a favorable environment. And we must also think our economy, because for now, part of also the advice we have given is the fact that they are commanding house of our economy and we have not been able to do what is expected of us, including government. For now, I don't think, because the issue has also come up about whether there is the issue of subsidy or not. And as an informed person, as an informed organization that have engaged this issue for more than 30 years, I know that the issue of bringing subsidy into the argument is something that we can address at the level of our country. We have no reason for having oil for more than 40 years as being the only OPEC country that we cannot refine product for the most degree. And now we are yearning for exchange to now continue to import coal that the price have fallen flat. So it makes economic sense for us to know that the right thing is to provide energy and make sure also that the cost of energy goes down, because it will be counterproductive and disastrous if we don't have resources that will support the importation of this very important commodity, and we're not thinking of also refining. We cannot also leave only the private sector to continue to refine. No, we have countries around the world where you have government refineries refining. So these are the issues. So we must think out of the box. And that's why I put all of this thing together, because I have another meeting now with the press in my office. I'm right now in the office working. So I thought that I should be able to speak out my mind before you now round up. But I must thank ActionAid for this initiative. We are ready, and we'll continue to argue around these issues. But I think it's good that Nigerians must speak up to try to speak to those issues.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have the next question. The person is asking, the federal government is relieving the lockdown in most of the affected states. And the person is asking, some people will have to go back to work and they don't have the essentials like face mask, the face mask and all other essentials. How are companies and corporate organizations helping to make those things available for their staff? And how would they expect them to continue working without those things, especially for people working in the health sector? So I'm asking Ayo to help us answer this question.
Well, I presume you, I mean, the question is to me, and Ayo, I mean, the DG Nasima. Fine. Quickly, there was a question, I'll answer that now. In terms of the question of psychological dimension of it. What happened, of course, was very practical. And I'll give you a good example of what happened with me, with my staff, and especially the security men. About 4 of them who are left with us. And the first thing I had to do was call them and assure them that, look, I want us to talk to each other on a daily basis. And what are the needs which you have? And these were companies, we're outsourcing. So they said the first thing is that we don't have money to eat. So I said, okay, fine, I will arrange to send you money so that you can share. So there's an empathy, there's a dimension of empathy to that. And we were able to reach out to them and then sort things out. So regularly on a daily basis, we were in touch with them. And we give them some kind of psychological boost. And of course, also, my staff, we do have a platform in which from time to time, we send encouraging message to each other. And this is where the question and issues of leadership come in. The leaders of organizations have very important role to play in this context. Now, they must provide innovative leadership. And that's where the question and issues of entry comes in. Once it is being lifted, it is not advisable for, if you have a staff of 20 or 30, it is not advisable that everybody should go. Perhaps a few people who will go to prepare arrangement for return will go to the office. What are the issues involved? You've mentioned the question of face mask to identify and adapt. Until you put that in place, it is not advisable to invite all your members in. And I'm indeed very glad that, take for example, our office is in Lagos and the Lagos state government is working on it. And so we are in touch with them that, look, listen, we are planning to come in phases, in gradual phases. Look, listen, this is a new world. I served 2 times in the permission of Nigeria and New York. I lived in New York. When I saw the street of New York, I said, listen, are we still here on planet Earth? So that is how fundamental these issues are. So in terms of resumption, the respective heads of this organization, it is advisable to get in touch. And this is where collaboration with government and respective agencies comes in now. That, look, listen, this is when we do intend to come, for example, on 4th of May, that this is when we intend to come. But before then, these are our needs, these are our demands in terms of issues of face mask and other things like that. I think this is what we do, the approach to it.
Thank you very much. Because of time, thank you very much, Ayo. because of time, we wouldn't be able to take all the questions. But like we said, you can tweet at us with your questions. We'll get our speakers to answer them online. And if you have any comments, recommendations, please type them in the chat box or the question and Q&A box. And right now, I'll take it back to Basira. Basira, are you there?
Yes, I am. Peace. Thank you very much. We are not doing so well with time. We apologize to the speakers as well as our audience for that. But quickly, we need to go back to our speaker. Let's hear from you. 1 minute each. 1 minute. 1 minute. So let's hear from you. Do you have any other thing to say, especially on recommendations? Especially on recommendations. What do we have to say? Can we start with Kemi? Recommendation and going forward. Just 1 minute each. 1 minute each before we round off the series section.
Thank you very much, Basira. I would just like to say this, that a healthy workforce is a productive workforce. That's the health of our staff is very paramount, both psychosocial and otherwise. So we should have empathy for them, and we should keep in touch with them, and we should reassure them. And for us, for our beneficiaries in the community, we'll keep striving and doing our best to put a smile on their faces. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Fumi. It's coming there. Okay, can we move to...
Okay, thank you very much, Basirat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please go on. 1 minute.
Okay, two things. One for the employer and then employees. Now that we know that business is no longer done as usual because of the COVID that has disrupted everything, I think it's important that organizations begin to have a systematic budgeting in place, because I can hear some employers saying, I don't know where to get salaries from and pay salaries. If we have invested in appropriate budgeting, annual budgets, this shouldn't be a question of paying salaries, because it's not their fault that people are not coming to work. I can understand the people that are in the retail sector, that they have to depend on whatever amounts they make on a daily basis before they are able to make profit. But again, for set organizations, for established organizations, it's important that we invest in budgeting and ensure that we have that, so that staff costs are covered for the whole year in case anything happens, which is also part of the business continuity plan and resilience strategy that we need to develop.
Okay, thank you very much for me. Okay, go on. Few seconds.
Yeah, for employees, who needs to start learning how to diversify our own income as well. I mentioned something around making sure that you have a hobby that would eventually translate to giving you an income. But again, more importantly, be a superhero. Ask for help where you need it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that goes to the DG NACIMA, Ambassador Lukani. 1 minute, 1 minute. Any other recommendation, comments?
Thank you very much. I think one of the key issues which we've been discussing and which has been floating around across the world now, the question and issue of a paycheck protection program. Paycheck protection program. I think this is one of the key issues which was to come on board now, that when even people go back. And of course, the principle of shared sacrifice, both on the part of our workers and put on the part of, also on the part of management too as well. So that when people are sure that the next 2-3 months, at least they will be able to get funds, some money to leave, there will be some hope. Because if people go back and they say, look, listen, we want to start sacking, that will be one of the crises we'll face. That's why I'm saying paycheck protection program is key. The principle of shared sacrifice on the part of town, understand that as we take on the new dimension of our civilization.
Okay, thank you very much. On behalf of, I think Comrade is no longer with us. He's not online. Thank you very much. On behalf of ActionAid Nigeria, we thank the speakers. We thank Comrade Ayuba for joining us. We thank the DG Nasima, Ambassador Olukani. We thank the Executive Director and co-founder of UFED, that Kemi Adeyeye. We also thank Funlayo Yefusi. She's the Director of Organizational Effectiveness with ActionAid Nigeria. We thank you very much for your time, for the collaboration, and we hope if we call you again, you answer us and you join us. It's been a very enriching conversation. It feels like we should continue. The 1 hour is very small, really, really, really. We apologize to our audience that we couldn't take most of your questions, even having you talk or join us. We sincerely apologize. Please drop your comments, drop your section. From what we are seeing from the discussions, and which we will be taking further and putting into the communique that will be going out to the key actors. One key one from Comrade is that palliative for SMEs and for business owners should get to the right hand. We also have one from Kenny that community response going to the grassroots. Community should be protected. We don't do harm going there as well. The coping strategies shared by FOMI is also one that we'll be taking further, especially so that employees and employers also take it on board. Then we also have as I mentioned something on provision of PPE facilities. So as an employer, until you have PPE items to give to your employee, it doesn't make sense for them to come back to work. So on behalf of ActionAid Nigeria, we appreciate and thank the audience for listening. We thank the speakers as well. We have the second series next week. Please kindly join us. I'll be addressing COVID-19 and gender-based violence. We will be talking on that. So we're moving towards organizational development, moving towards gender-based violence, and moving towards programs. And we look forward to having our audience register, join us, and also participate. It promises to be very enlightening. So we thank you very, very much. Thank you, the speaker, and thank you, the audience, as we look forward to further collaboration with you. So on behalf of my co-host, that's Peace, thank you very much. We look forward to having you join us on board this next series next week, Thursday. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fumi.
Thank you.
Like I said, link.